Hey, welcome to Game Dev Weekly. If you're new here, I'm working on Hydroneer, a mining game where you dig for gold and other resources to build massive mining machines. If you want to check out Hydroneer, head to the Patreon link below. It's available right now from a minimum pledge of $2. Or alternatively, if you want to wait for the upcoming Steam release, you can check out the Steam link below and add it to your wishlist. The first thing I'm working on this week is just going to be a really quick thing. It's just these sounds of objects entering into water. It really does improve the immersion of the game when you can hear objects splashing around as they enter in the water. But I think I just need to take this a little bit further. I need to add in some nice water particle effects, so when those objects actually hit the water, it looks like they're kind of splashing. I've just added in some really basic water particle effects, and I think that's looking pretty nice. I wanted to keep it quite stylized to fit the theme of the game. And on top of this, I also added in some sounds for when the player is entering in the water. And I think this is working really nice. I also got it so the particle effects is attached to the player. So when they move around, you can see the trail of particles follow their feet. And I think that looks really nice. It's also really satisfying to use, and I can't help from splashing around in the water. This really small change has made the game a lot more fun just moving through water, and I think sound design is great for stuff like that. So I'm just about to get started on one of the biggest updates for this next update, and it's going to be completely changing the entire map. So if we pan out here, this is the map we've got right now. There's the castle area, the starting dig site where you see a lot of my tests. Then there's the other plot of land scattered around the map, the seaside town, and then there's the snowy area. So the reason why I'm doing this is because these roads are just way too narrow. To get the vehicles up and down them, it's not really going to work. And also, I feel like the game's design has changed slightly since I made this first map. I really want to incorporate some level design which really works with the current game design. There's also a few other things that I want to fix with the new map upgrade, one of which is the foliage. Some of the plants down here are not particularly optimized, as well as I want to change the tree size. I want to have these bigger, wider trees. Some other fixes I want to do is to do with these texture stretching that you see here on some of the vertical parts of the map. They look passable, but not very nice at all. So I'm going to fix up some of that. I also want to change up the way that the frosty area works. And I want to make it less of a biome and maybe tie in more to one whole area and just have higher parts as frostier. There's a lot of things that make up this map. We've got the blocking volumes that stop people from going outside of the map. We've got areas that allow players to build in. We've got the for sale signs, we've got the lampposts. We also have the water, which is actually quite complex to place down, as well as having relic spawns under the ground as well that you can't actually see. This is going to be a very long process, and it's probably going to take me a few weeks to get finished. So I'm going to get started now. So the first thing I'm doing here is just removing every single tree. Something that you're definitely going to notice now is how bad the terrain looks without any foliage, whether that's trees or the grass and plants. And it really does look bad. So while I'm putting in this new terrain, just keep that in mind. There is actually quite a lot of foliage to remove as well. And when I put the foliage back in, I'm also going to be changing a lot of things. It needs a lot of optimization work. So next, I'm just going to start deleting some of the models as well. So a lot of this town that you're seeing right here, I'm actually going to be moving back. Since I'm redesigning the entire map, I actually want to try and save myself some time and move some of the towns around, so I just don't have to recreate loads of towns again. So I've made quite a lot of good progress now on all of the map. What I've done is basically bring the shore a little bit closer and moving a lot of these towns back a bit. I'm going to be extending the map backwards, kind of more inland, and also I've removed the snowy area completely. So right now I'm just kind of blocking out the terrain, getting the different heights and stuff sorted, while also creating this awesome bridge. This is made by what we call kit bashing, where you take loads of different models and make one big kind of sculpture, I guess, out of all these different types of models. I'm still doing a lot of planning right now. I'm using the dirt tool to lay out where the pathways are, so then I can actually have a better idea of how everything's going to fit in together. The next thing I would do is shape the terrain, and then I'd go over the materials again and completely remake them. So the map is starting to take shape, and I'm really happy with how it's coming out so far. Now remember, it's not going to look good until all the foliage is in, the lighting's in, and everything's actually all compiled together at the very end. The stream is looking really cool right now. This is going to be like a shallow creek, I guess. So we've got the waterfalls just about ready. This will have like lots of rocks in it and lots of that particle effects that make it look like the water's passing over the rocks. What I've been trying to work on is having a nice blend between these mountains and the kind of standard forest terrain. And I'm going to show you a little bit about how I actually work in. I start off usually with the dirt layer. It's a nice starting place, and then what I'll do is I'll come in with some grass. Now with the grass I want to be quite heavy with it, so I use like a higher brush. You can see here just some of the textures are loading, just ignore that for now. But all of the flat parts are going to be textured basically. Now this doesn't have to be too perfect, because I will go over it a bit later on, and obviously this is actually quite a trickier bit of terrain since I haven't really been paying attention while placing it down. But essentially everything that's kind of like not at a 30-degree slope, I'll just texture. Now what you can actually be doing this with, you can actually do this automatically with some code, but I really just prefer to go in and I prefer just to texture it myself. I find it comes out a little bit nicer, and it also just has more of like a handmade feel to it. So I'm just going to go over here. I accidentally left a bit of snow on top of on this ground, so I'm just going to clear some of that up. Again, just an example, so I'm not really going to go for something perfect. Okay, then what I want to do is I add in a target layer. So this means that it's only going to paint 90% of the layer, and it's going to leave a bit of the previous layer underneath of it. So you can see here, this is just like an additional rock layer, and it kind of just breaks up all of the brown. I added this in because I, basically just really wanted to break up quite a bit of it. So then this kind of goes on top, and I just lightly paint it across any of the steep angles. Okay, so now I'm moving on to what we would have over here, where the dirt kind of moves up a bit. And I will start off by painting this with snow. The way that the landscape is made, I guess it's kind of made into like squares, so you can actually see the definition at the edges. So what I do is I will just take the brush fall off. So with the brush, you've got the inner circle and then the outer circle, which is kind of, the inner circle paints the fall color, and then the outer circle has a bit of like a fade to it. I can just turn that fade all the way up, and then maybe turn my tool strength down quite a bit lower, and then just add in this, just like kind of an airbrush effect. There you go, I think that's looking pretty nice. And then lastly, I'm just going to hit it with the mountain rock. So again, hitting it at a 90% and just kind of brushing across it. And obviously, kind of like I do with the dirt, I'm only hitting sides that are, over a 30-degree angle, and every other flat part can kind of just stay flat. And then when this has got some terrain, when this has got some foliage on it, I think it's going to look really, really cool. Obviously, the map really doesn't tie itself together until that foliage is on, but this has basically just been a basic insight into how I do my landscape. And I hope maybe if you're a developer, then it's a little bit helpful to you. There's lots of different ways that you can do landscaping terrain, and this is just one of them. It's just my personal method. So I've just about finished this week. It's been quite a long week. This stuff is really, really time consuming, but I'm pretty happy with what I've done so far. I've started to really map out where I want everything to be in this new area over here. I'm really happy with how the river looks right now. Obviously, next week when I finish it up, it'll look really, really nice. Started planning out, I kind of want the main town to just be right here with everything coming off of it. And then I'll probably have maybe 3 places to dig right here. They'll all be at different levels though, and I'm sure the terrain will look really nice when it's finished. So that's going to do it for this week. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. A big thank you to all my Patreons. If you'd like to become a patron and check out Hydroneer right now, you can head to the link in the description below. Alternatively, you can wait for the Steam release in May. I've left a link to the Steam page in the description if you want to add it to your wishlist. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next week.